Fortunately, we didn't go by last names. I would have been last. But, well, today, Mr. President and members, I'll start with how I always start. I love history. So I remember there's an old Greek story told about a great Athenian statesman. Not that I am one, but it was Themistocles, the hero of the Battle of Salamis. And it is said that early in his political career, his father brought him to the Athenian shore and pointed towards the remains of a broken trireme ship. Once powerful, once celebrated, once essential to the survival of Athens, and the ship had helped save the nation. It carried warriors through storm and battle, but it now sat abandoned on the beach, rotting in silence. And his father said to him, "That, my son, is what happens to people. That's what people do to their politicians." I know it's a little darker story, but a warning about public life, right? And about how glory can be and how those once praised can later be forgotten, discarded, or even mocked by history and time. And perhaps many who leave this chamber might understand that feeling. But on a little bit more positive story, there's another Greek story I think of today, the story of Achilles, of how his mother carried him to the river Styx and lowered him into the water so that he might become immortal, so that he might become strong enough to face the world ahead. And though Achilles was mortal, his story became eternal. We're still hearing his name, watching his movies. His courage, his flaws, his struggle, his glory. They lived on in the imagination of mankind for thousands of years. Two stories. One of a father showing his son the sadness of public life and the trials of it, and another, a mother preparing her child for greatness and struggle. And I share those stories today because throughout my years in the Minnesota House and Senate, I have spoken often about my father and of my grandfather. The stories of war, the stories that sometimes, get me called a bro, or, it's too graphic. Stories of blood, sweat, hardship, manhood, sacrifice for country, stories about endurance and the fight ahead. But today I leave this chamber for the first time. I want to speak instead about my mother. Because the truth is, I conducted my politics in her image. Long before I ever became a lawyer, before I joined city council in the great city of Maplewood, before the Minnesota House, before the Minnesota Senate, there was a young woman standing in a Thai refugee camp alone, pregnant, uncertain, unwanted by many around her, for the man that she thought that was going to marry her had left her. And she was a woman enduring shame, judgment, and crushing mental anguish of cultural and societal disapproval. But she stood firm. And despite all of that hardship, she believed there was still one place in the world where life could begin again. And that was America. A shining land with shores far away, a place where even the poor and forgotten might still have a future. She came to this country, married my father, had me, and together they raised 8 children together. They saved every penny they had. They moved us from the projects where almost every boy on the block that I grew up ended up in jail or joined a gang. And they brought us into a nice suburban home in Maplewood with a yard, safe streets, and little league practices. I remember the one thing I wanted to do the most in elementary was to join a football team, to put on that helmet and those pads and be Randy Moss. And I watched my mother fight systems that often did not understand families like ours. I watched her struggle through mountains of unnecessary and duplicative paperwork trying to get help from my brother with autism. Despite barely having a third grade education and barely speaking English, And yet, despite every of those obstacles, she succeeded. She raised 8 children that would go on to become lawyers, business owners, professionals, and even a state senator. My mother is my unlikely hero. And although her stories isn't as cool or shocking as my father's, who had to grow up in the jungle, fighting communists, being forced to kill his first enemy when he was 12. But my mother was no less courageous. From her, she had a great skill, surpassing those even with a PhD, or as she reminded me of, even those of us with a law degree. That skill of hers was storytelling. From her, I learned the word superpower for the first time. And in Hmong, it was called Tao Lok, borrowed from Lao. And when she spoke of America, she spoke of not merely a country, but a heroic force in history. The nation that helped liberate millions from tyranny, defeated the Nazis, stopped the spread of communism in the world. The nation that opened its arms to refugees and immigrants from around the world and gave ordinary people a chance to pursue their American dream. What a story. And she told me that when I was a little middle schooler getting into trouble. And that made me love this country. This country became a hero to me. And through that inspiration, I fell in love with law, with government, with public service. That journey took me from Maplewood City Council to here, to sit among you. This is what some might say the best, the brightest, the highest lords of the land in my culture. And all because of my mother. And today I depart this chamber. I do so with enormous gratitude. I want to say thanks to a few folks. First of all, to the staff, thank you for being here. Senator Hoffman, he always reminded me, you got the votes. Shut up and vote, right? Vote quickly. And sorry for keeping you all up late at night. I want to thank Ryan, my first LA, Sebastian, my second LA, he's up there in the gallery, keeping me on time as I have adapted to the ways of the Senate and the time of the Senate. To Michaela, my CA, to Senator Dietzig, who gave me the opportunity to learn, and when she passed, I took on her committee in the state and local government, to Senator Murphy for believing in me, standing with me from the beginning, even when I did stupid stuff. She stood with me and guided me and brought me here. To the work that we did here in the legislature, I wanted to say thank you to Senator Her and Senator Pa, my Hmong brothers and sisters. We share the same story. We struggle together. You understand me in times of tribulation, and a head, a voice, people that I can consult with when times are tough, and they were tough. To Senator Zainab Mohammed, thank you for your fiery spirit and your relentless advocacy. You scare me, but you stand up for the weak, the powerless, and you truly showed me what a champion looks like. To Senator Omar Fateh, thank you to showing me what representation looks like, and for your passionate fight for the rideshare workers. I still remember that moment in the Commerce Committee when you turned around and said, have we been engaged? And your community all spoke up at once. You were a movie star in that moment in my eyes. And you will always I will always remember that moment. To Senator Claire Umu Verbatim, thank you for never forgetting from where we come from. I know I was probably on the lowest of the low pecking orders. I remember when we got elected, they didn't even have a seat for me here, but you fought for me, got me a chair committee seat, a chair gavel, and keep calling me, letting me know what you're planning to say, the fight you were going to fight. And so I thank you for that, giving me the opportunity to serve and to show my leadership. And finally, to Senator Friends, my mentor, chair. Let me follow you around everywhere in our energy committee. I know you went through some tough times. I'm sorry you've lost your daughter, but we will always be friends together after we leave this place. I appreciate you letting me learn under you, asking stupid questions. And so I hope for all of you on both sides of the aisle that we succeed. Co-lead Lang for serving with me, being there to work with me, to put up an agenda, to show Minnesotans that both of us, both sides of the aisle, can still work together. And that's what we have to cling on to. I hope that we can continue to build on the great moments that we have here together, working across the aisle, not speaking when we have the urge to say something, being gracious, being there to represent the people that brought us here, for those that both elected us and did not elect us. And I hope that we all cherish the moments, the brief moments that we have here. I certainly enjoyed my time here. I enjoyed working with all of you from my side, the other side of the aisle. We are all Minnesotans. And with the parting words, I just quote President Bill Clinton, where he said that what is wrong with America can be fixed with what is right with America. I had true hope and faith in our country and in the people in this chamber. Justice Brandeis said that, states are the laboratories of democracy. And I hope that what you guys do here, what the courage that you are able to do here going forward after I leave this place, is to be a shining beacon to the rest of the country, and so that they adopt what you pass here, and that Minnesota will have the reputation and the name and recognition that it truly deserves, as we all love this great state. And with that, thank you. I appreciate being here. It's been a great honor. I love seeing all of you, even they're not here, but Senator Lucero and Senator Drazkowski, who came with me from the other body. And so thank you all. I appreciate it. And with that, good luck and Godspeed.